Hello, my name is Christopher Knox, and if you're watching this, you're probably one of my players for my Warriors of Parthia campaign. I'm doing something different here in 2020 with my home game. I'm doing a game. Well, I'm doing a game that's trying to do something very specific. I love D&D. I love 5th edition D&D, and one of the great challenges with my life is I have tons of people I want to play D&D with. I don't have time to have campaigns with all of you. I don't have times for campaigns, giant campaigns with all of you. But I found this wonderful middle ground where I'm going to run a series of pickup games with people. Where people can come and go as they please, and people can come to lots of sessions and be part of a continuous story, or they can come and show up for one game and then leave right away afterwards. It's not like a big deal. So that's my hope. It's to play with more of my friends this year than any other year before, have cool, high-end, great content that people enjoy and people like playing, and do it. I call these pickup games and not one-off games. One-off games, I think it's a game I go to. I do go on that adventure. That game is concluded and that campaign is over. It's a one-off game. These are pickup games. And by that, I mean these are going to be a series of games that all take place in one continuous, contiguous world that all touch and interact on each other. I don't really want to reveal to you, my dear players, how I'm going to do that exactly right this moment, because I've actually woven into the storyline. It's a thing I want you to sort of organically discover. And I hope you really like how I've chosen to do this, because I think it's really cool. So again, it's a continuous world that you all play in. If you want to coordinate with other players that you've played with previously, you can try to continuously play with those players. There is a sign-up sheet with an availability chart. You can say, I am available on these days to play. And whenever we hit 4 players, we play. One big thing that's important to me in this game is I don't want to play with huge groups. A lot of my gaming is, you start with a group of like 4 people, then someone says, I want to join, and someone else says, I want to join. So you have 6 players, and then from then it's 8. And then you're like, as a DM, I have trouble keeping track of all that. I have a huge table. It's kind of exhausting. I have to combats I have to run through with all these various players. RP sessions get tough because I'm only me, and I can play only so many NPCs at the same time. You sort of bouncing around very rapidly between all my various players. And I want to be able to give my individual players who are there at the table more of my attention. So I'm limiting this to 4 players. 4 players per game. If for some reason a 5th player wants to join a game for whatever reason, and they can't join any other session that month, I'll go to 5, but 5 is really the hard limit. 4 is the ideal. I'll only take a 5th player if that 5th player can only game on that day, that month. The idea is that any given player plays 1 game a month. The idea is I'm actually going to run the same session for every month. So in the month of January, I'm running 1 session. Like this is the content for January. So if you play twice in January, you're going to get the exact same content twice. If you play in February, I'm going to have another round of content. That is the idea. I've never done this before. This whole idea is inspired by something called Western Marches game. I recommend you go check that out and just Google it, or maybe I'll put a link to Matt Colvilles' video on what is the Western Marches. But it's the idea to have a fluid game with more players than you normally have that, again, exists in a continuous world that is still emotionally and story engaging as more than just a simple dungeon crawl every week. I'll link to my house rules for my campaign because I love house rules. That's another thing. I'm a huge tinkerer. I'm a huge tinkerer of house rules. And it's very hard to sort of get people up to speed on house rules when you have 6, 7, 8 players. When you have only 4, it's quite straightforward, and you can do that. So this is my hope. I may fail. This whole idea may fail. By the way, quick disclaimer, never try to run a game like this. We may try this. It may suck. Everyone may hate it. And I will slink away. I will slink away and be very sad. But I'm going to try it. I hope you like it. This game isn't necessarily for everybody. I talked to some players and they're like, no, I had one player tell me, like, I like games where it's a set number of players and it's lots of backstabbing and espionage and lots of intrigue and lots of you don't know what's going on, and it's very involved and there's layers upon layers of backstories. That is not this game. This game is definitely a funner, lighter game than that. Lighter. I wouldn't say it's a light game. That the idea is that you can roll in having not played in a long time and can sort of get up to speed relatively easily. I'm trying as a game designer and dungeon master to rely on really solid gaming tropes that you as players will recognize and cling on to. And it's really important to me that people don't come to my table and feel confused or overwhelmed, or they didn't get their sort of share in, which is part of the reason, again, keeping it down to 4 players, 4, maybe 5 per session. We're playing Friday nights. Friday nights are what works best for me as the DM. We're gaming here at Casa de Nox, just because I have a ton of gaming stuff. I come from a war gaming tradition, so I have tons of, but I actually don't play war games anymore. I don't play like Warhammer anymore, although I love their products. So I play with tons of terrain and miniatures and dungeon tiles and all sorts of cool stuff that we play with here at the house. And it's just very hard for me to transport all that. I haven't designed my games partially around what minis I have. That's like an important thing to me. And that's minis aren't for everybody. Minis aren't important to everybody. You can run really great games without minis, but I enjoy them. My brother, William, who's a very talented DM in his own right, is a big believer in print out monster tiles, which he prints out for every game, where he prints out, full color, like 2x2 or 1x1 monsters. And he just lays those down and he can like write on them and stuff. And it's very awesome. And that's his way of running. And it's a great way. So anything I say here, by the way, if you go, that's not how I play D&D, that's okay. The way you do it is not bad. I think it's probably great. In fact, I'm just telling you this is the way I'm running this campaign. People have asked me a quick overview of the campaign. The campaign Warriors of Parthia is a Dark Ages campaign. It's a campaign about law versus chaos. It's very sort of honestly 80s inspired by sort of films I grew up with, like Beastmaster and Excalibur and Heavy Metal and things of that nature. Yojimbo, Seven Samurai is very big to me. And again, these are things where it's law versus chaos, and it's issues of sort of loyalty and friends and betrayal and greed and wants and lust and violence and nice meaty subjects like that. A thing this game is not big about is sort of good and evil. I like worlds that are morally complex. I think law and chaos is a much more much better, much more engaging question of like way to run a society. I generally feel when people say I am good, good means my culture is good and I am good, and that's great. And your culture, the bad guy, is evil. And these are really arbitrary concepts in a lot of ways. It's often my size good and your size evil. And that's you can go into more nuance than that, but for most of the universe, I think that's what people fall into. We hate those people over there because they're not like us. And sure, you can find exceptions to this, like, fascism and Nazism and totalitarianism and like white supremacy and racism. Those are fundamentally evil concepts. But in the sort of general, English versus French or, 100-year War of the Roses in England, it's very simply, I hate that side because they're evil, which is not something that interests me. So anyways, I feel like I'm getting off track here. Anyways, that's the game. I did say it's a Dark Ages game, and by that I mean current version of D&D, current 5th edition overall, as it has a design that leans itself towards sort of like proto-steampunk, I would call it. It's like one step away from steampunk in terms of if there's like this magic tech that does magical things that don't really obey the laws of physics, but kind of feel like they're the 18th century, kind of feels like you should have a top hat. And I'm talking about, the clockwork gadgets of rock gnomes, artificers, the smattering of firearms that appears throughout the game in various, back of the DMG and stuff like that. And for me, that's not what this game's about. This game's very much a Dark Ages game. So there is no artificers or rapiers or things that feel more analogous to steampunk or fantasy tech or things like that. So those are the major changes. Again, this is all captured in the doobly-doo below. I will talk more about this later as the game goes on. I hope you come to play. And the last thing is that from a design concept of the game is Warriors of Parthia is what I call a small world campaign, in the sense of I've tried to make it very small as possible, meaning there's very few cities. I've limited some of the classes. Everything tries to bend back on itself, opposed to the design aesthetic of Forgotten Realms, which is like low politics, crap tons of city-states, crap tons of countries, crap tons of gods, and there's sort of every possible permutation of anything that's found in Fantasyland, if you will. I feel you can Forgotten Realms. And Warriors of Parthia very much is trying to have an opinion, and that opinion is much more articulated. You know, magic is scary, the world is dark, the world is a complex, murky place. And you need friends and steel and magic to survive. Anyways, that's the video, folks. I hope you enjoy. This is sort of just a top of mind rant. I'm going to make more of these. I like making videos like this. I like making videos where it's just me talking directly to camera. I see a lot of people on YouTube make much more polished content where it's much more, they've clearly gone through and like written scripts and done takes and yada, yada, yada. And for me, I just have very limited time and I kind of just get this content out there. If people like this, I may go ahead and start making more of it. And do it in a more refined way. But right now, I just have a finite time. So I'm going to make these sort of faster and dirtier videos. If you like things I'm talking, say, oh, please make more of these videos, but could we get more polished versions of them? I will do that. But right now, I'm going to not let perfection be the enemy of the good. I'm just going to get the content out there and we'll see how it does. And if it does terrible, great. And if you go, this content's terrible, why are you doing this? I'll go, God, okay, I'll make more polished content and I'll be more selective about what I make and what I do. So again, I'm Christopher Knox. I'm running Warriors of Parthia. We're playing Friday nights. I hope you come join us. Below, I will link to the house rules. And I'll link to Matt Colvilles' great video on Western Marches, because that's kind of what's inspiring this type of play. And we'll go from there. And stay tuned to this channel. And, you know, what am I supposed to tell you? Click the notification and the bell and the this. Click all the buttons so you get notified when I put stuff up. Because I'm going to try to do more and more of these. But thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon. All right. Ooh. And yes, I want to end.